Hello, and welcome back to the Ironman. So, I just unlocked something that I think is a pretty sweet way to start off a video, so let's check it out. Due to extending some tasks with Viswax, because screw agility, I want to get as much XP as possible for my challenges, we completed 2 of the weekly rewards today. And one of them is a Death Touch Dart, which is awesome, and the other one's a Menophyte Gift Offering, which I've never had one before. So I really want to... I could offer it for reputation. I think it's a lot, but let's open it up. It could be something good. We get 2 diamond necklaces and a chocolate bar. Also 118k cash. Like that's really the major thing that's happening right here. We are now up to 3 Death Touch darts, and I want to use them at Nex. It's not necessarily the only boss that's a good value for using them. I've heard Ambassador is a good boss too, but we are so far away from ever doing that. Next is really what we should be aiming for to cash in these Death Touch darts, and that's a much more attainable goal just to get to next. So over the past couple of days I have been training Hunter, mostly through Big Chinchampa, and we got our 59 Hunter. So I am now able to catch Red Salamanders, and this is our range upgrade, because a Red Salamander, even though it's a hunter creature, is our best tier 60 range option right now. So I finally got around to it, and I'm finishing up my first round of penguins. Well, maybe not an entire round, but all the ones that I'm able to discover. There's still a few that are locked away behind quests. And I'm looking at some of these, and the ones that I can't access are because I don't have access to Tyrannwyn, and I don't have access... Oh, I did do this Eagles Peak one, that should be checked off. And I don't have access to Apatol. So those are the 2 big ones. And then also I need to do some of the preceding penguin quest to find everything. So maybe that's what I should start working on here, because the penguin points should be really good, and I'm actually going to cash in just the 21 I have and see how much XP that results in. So the penguin points reward system has been revamped. Instead of just cashing in your points for XP, you now buy XP lamps. And yes, I'm still using Larry for penguin points. Everyone over there, of course, is using the polar bear because they've done the quests and I have not. But I looked this up, and there seems to be some debate on this, but for the most part, no matter what lamp you buy, it's going to be essentially the same amount of XP per point. The difference is we're talking like maybe 10 XP. So I might as well just buy 2 huge ones to save myself a couple of clicks, and then finish it off with some of the smaller lamps here. So I am, of course, going to be putting all of these in Herblore, and the reason for that is we're still trying to reach 57 Herblore, and unlock ourselves some fairy rings. So we'll see how much that is. 28k XP, just for doing essentially a week and a half of penguins plus a few miscellaneous ones that I found just wandering around the game world while doing Slayer tasks my first couple of weeks playing. So unlike the past couple of episodes where I had goals that I was working on but just kind of decided to reveal them mid-episode, I think I'm going to lay some of them out right now to see what we're working with. So first of all, I do want to finish up Fairy Tale Part 2. This is something we started on last week, and unfortunately I just didn't have enough herbs to get the 57 Herblore that you need to do the quest. I should do now, and if you look at my bank, this is what we're working with. 218 Renars, 84 Irits, 112 Corms. I haven't cleaned these yet, but we just did get the level to use them, and 72 Avanto, and I have a few other random things. We need 50k XP. I think we should be able to get there. I might have to use some of the Harlanders, which means collecting chocolate, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. But if we use all of the herbs that we have available, that will be enough to get us that 50k. The next thing I would like to do is keep it going with the penguin quests. So the first quest that I don't have the complete skill requirements for yet is Some Like It Cult. And we need 4 crafting levels, and I think a couple thieving levels as well. Nothing that's too out of this world difficult to get done. And then the last penguin quest is, of course, back to the freezer, and we have the Slayer and Rune crafting already. We just need the divination and the quest to get there. So I am still working on getting those skill requirements for being able to do the penguin quests, but I had to take a really quick break to do some DG, and I'll show why in just a second. So that final medium floor that I finished up should get us over the 20k tokens mark. It did. Nice. My math was correct. That doesn't always happen. But we want to get a Scroll of Cleansing, and that's just because, I'm about to do some Herblore. I want to get this unlocked sooner rather than later. So there is about, I think the math comes out to an 11% chance of saving secondary ingredients when doing Herblore. Also, you make your potions a little more quickly. I don't think that's a big deal, though. So obviously, from 54 to 57, Herblore, the ingredients that we save are not account changing, right? It's going to be slightly helpful. I'll save a couple limp words, a couple snake grass. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just one of those things where the sooner we get it unlocked, the better, and now we have it for the future. So one thing I'm learning is that the Scroll of Cleansing also works when you're making unfinished potions, because the secondary in this case is the herb. So I'm not just saving secondary ingredients, I'm also saving like Renards and stuff. I'm just going to pretend I knew that from the start and claim brilliance in getting that Scroll of Cleansing right away. Okay, there it is. I've cast Divine Storm 100 times in the Mage Arena, which unlocks, well, it unlocks the ability to use Divine Storm outside of the Mage Arena, which I don't think we're going to be too interested in. But more importantly, we're now able to cast the special attacks of the God Staffs. And I also picked myself up a Gothic Staff. I now have the correct staff, and I did have to pay for it, so we lost a little bit of GP there, but it's okay, because now we can use Cloud's Gothics, which is probably the strongest magic special attack we'll have access to for quite some time, and what it does is it lowers your opponent's defense level, so you can understand why that would be useful in PVM. So I think due to the Scroll of Life, I didn't end up needing to make nearly as many potions as I thought I would for 57 Herblore. And there it is. So this is the big requirement, of course, that we needed for Fairy Tale Part 2, because in RuneScape 3, you need 57 Herblore to even start the quest. So it looks like the Fairy Ring interface has got kind of an overhaul, a facelift, since the last time I used it anyway. So we do have access to Fairy Rings now, because I have started Fairy Tale Part 2. So we could just quit and have access to them and be able to teleport. But I might as well finish up this quest. I don't think Fairy Tale 2 is very long. It feels that way because we all like started this quest and then left it for months and months and months and then came back to it later when we had the Herblore level to finish it. But I don't think the actual start to finish quest takes all that long. And this should do it for Fairy Tale Part 2. I don't remember what the reward is other than the Fairy Ring access, but that's really what we were after. Sometimes I start recording and there's still just like a lot of dialogue to go. But we got through all of it, got a thieving level, and I did not remember that you got a lamp that you could put into any skill. So it looks like 2500 XP. Herblore is probably the way we want to go. So we're not getting any level up or sparks here, but I am now 2000 XP away from 50 thieving, which is what we need for Some Like It Cold. And I could just finish off the level. Honestly, it would take another minute. There's really no reason for me not to, but I'm trying to be tricky here, and if we complete Hunt for Red Rocktober, which comes before Some Like It Cold, that's going to get us the thieving XP for 50. So I'm just going to do that and leave early. I'm just finishing up my gems that I obtained the other night through a Gemrock mining sesh while I was playing other games, and here's 56 crafting. I mined almost a perfect amount of gems for 56 crafting. We have very few left over. This wasn't planned at all. I just was randomly mining gems for a couple of hours, and it turned out to be just enough, which is sweet. So now we have everything for Back to the Freezer, or sorry, Some Like It Cold, and I just need 10 divination levels, and then we'll have everything for Back to the Freezer as well. So initially I thought that I was just going to do normal div and maybe do a cache or two in order to get the 50 divination that we need, but instead I had an idea. I was going to start Memorial to Gothics. So I did the first engram already, and I'm about to charge this second one here, and then I think you actually get your XP drop when you turn it in. Okay, so we should get our XP drop here, and these XP drops are pretty sweet. The first one, which is just requires Pale Energy, was like 12k XP. That one was 17k XP. Really did not take very long to charge it. So maybe this is kind of the way to go. Do caches, and then in the meantime, when I next want to train Div, of course, keep working on these engrams, because they give pretty sweet XP drops. But we have all the levels that we need for all the penguin quests now, so it's time to get started. We're finishing up the first penguin quest, Cold War. It's definitely, it's still a good quest, but probably the worst out of the penguin quests. They only get better from here. Just a lot of back and forth in Cold War, a lot of retreading the same paths that you've already been down. And there's the completion screen. So we should get an agility level out of this, which is pretty sweet. And now we get to move on to, I think the next one is Hunt for Red Rocktober. Well, I forgot we needed to do Sea Slug before we can move on to Hunt for Red Rocktober, because it's required for some reason. But it really wasn't a big deal. This quest takes 5 minutes. Okay, finished up that quest. The penguin quests kind of just get wackier and zanier as you go along. So unfortunately the XP rewards for Hunt for Red Rocktober aren't great, but I now get to explore wells or polar bears, so essentially that means 1 extra penguin point per week. Okay, that should do it. It's official. And also this thieving XP is going to put us over the edge, so now we have 50 thieving, which is all the quests we need for Some Like It Cold, which is coming up next. That should do it for Some Like It Cold. So the penguin style reward for this quest I don't actually have access to. That's finding the invisible penguin. You need a ring of visibility to do that, which means we're going to have to do desert treasure. I mean, it's an important quest to get done, so I'd have to do it at some point. But I also get access to the thieving event in the circus, so that's going to be really nice just for a little bit of extra weekly thieving XP. Oh, and also just like the straight up XP reward from this quest is pretty nice. You get 100k total XP and some hard to train skills. And we got some levels out of that too. And we are back to where we began. I do promise I completed the quest though. Back to the freezer is done. Rewards are pretty good. It's 1 additional penguin to find per week. Very similar to Red Rocktober. And also we get a decent amount of XP. So this quest does reward invention XP, but obviously we cannot claim it until we complete the invention tutorial. So we'll have to come back for that later. And then also another thing is the circus XP is scaled up. According to the wiki, you get 150% of the normal circus XP now. So that'll be a little bit of extra agility, thieving, magic, and ranged XP per week. So along with doing all those penguin quests, we also passed the 150 quest point barrier. So I get to claim another magical dice and some more cash from May. So even though we did all those penguin quests, we are not done doing quests for the sake of increasing our penguin points. Unfortunately, and that's the reason why that is because penguins can appear in areas that we can't access yet. So just this week, we are limited by not having the elf quest completed. So that means Underground Pass, Regicide, and then also I believe we might have to do Morning's End Part 1 for access to Latia, but I'm not sure. And then also Apatol, that's Monkey Madness. And there aren't any this week, but we may occasionally have to complete another quest here or there for more access to areas. Oh, and then also the Shadow Realm, that's Desert Treasure for the Ring of Visibility. So I just named, what, is that 5 quests right there, at least, that we have to do to access, all of the penguin points this week. So we have more work to do, but I'm going to take a break from the questing for now. Oh, and before I forget, that is not the only reward we get for 150 quest points. So we get to unlock stuff. I've never unlocked anything from her shop before, and the reason for that is because I've been saving up my quest points. This top track, the combat track, is by far the best one to get because you get a weapon out of this. And this weapon, Vanquish, we'll just go ahead and unlock it now because we're definitely going to want this weapon. This weapon is a tier 75 weapon, and you can switch it to all 3 combat styles. So this is really, especially for Ironman accounts, kind of the best weapon we're going to have until we unlock the Sun Spear, just because it's so versatile. I don't believe it can be augmented, but we're so far away from invention anyway. We'll have the Sun Spear by then. But yeah, until we start doing some vampire quests, obviously I can't wield it yet because I don't have the stats, but once I do have the stats, this is going to be really our best weapon for quite a while. Okay, well, I lied. I'm still questing. I'm just doing the boss battle for Monkey Madness. For some reason, I'm not really sure how, I just got the motivation to do this quest. It is an annoying one, of course, but we also really wanted to do it. And also, access to Apatol. There's frequently a penguin on Apatol, and this week there happened to be a 2-point penguin on the island, so I needed to do this quest to access it. So, in my mind, that's super worth it. Okay, here is the end of Monkey Madness. We did it. I just have to go back upstairs and claim my combat XP, and I just hit 60 attack from that, as well as 55 strength and 67 HP. Not bad. Okay, we're still going at it. I'm finishing up Troll Stronghold here, just a prerequisite for Desert Treasure. Okay, I haven't had enough troll drama, I guess, so I went ahead and did Troll Romance, purely just for the 8k agility XP, because we need it to get to 56 agility. Not quite there, but I have a few other things I can do for agility XP, just because we will need that for Regicide in the future. Another thing I did, thanks to a comment suggestion actually, so I appreciate that, is I got the Sure-Footed aura, because apparently what this does is it prevents you from failing, well, it says on an agility course for 20 minutes, but this also applies in the underground pass. So it's 20 minutes of, freedom when you're crossing those like rickety beams and stuff in the underground pass. That should be good for when we're completing the last stage of the quest, so we don't have to fall down into the pit, which is really the worst part of underground pass. So avoiding that completely will be awesome. That was the easiest underground pass of my life. Sure-forded aura helped out so much. I didn't fall once. It was magical. But yeah, that's done, and we just have to wait for that courier to arrive with a letter, and then we can start on Regicide. Well, I took a short break from the questing, and I did one Slayer task. We did 70 tasks in a row, got a little bit of a point bonus. But then I got the king's message, and, who am I to deny the king? It's time to start questing again. There's a huge unlock here. Tyranwin Lodestone. Never have to run through the underground pass again, unless we want to. So this isn't Regicide, but I am finishing up Roving Elves. I just decided I probably didn't need to record the end of Regicide. I'm just, talking to the King Lathas and Artie yet again. It is, not something that you guys have not seen before. I don't think I necessarily need to, record every single quest ending if nothing special happens. But there is something special happening here, and that is we got the Crystal Bow. So this is our Tier 70 bow. Our options at level 70 range are either going to be the Crystal Bow or the Black Salamander. And just due to the annoyance of having to collect ammo for the Black Salamander, and also I would need to trade in some more Hunter up to 67 to be able to catch it, maybe we'll just go the Crystal Bow route. And we're starting Morning's End Part 1. This is not the completion of the quest, this is the start of the quest, but we do have access to Latia, which is the reason why I wanted to start this quest. Of course, our original motivation to do all this quest was these guys, penguins. So I spot this one. You can see I'm up to 11 out of 12 total penguins this week. That means I've spotted every single one except for the invisible one, which of course we need Desert Treasure in order to spot because we'll need the Ring of Visibility. But at the very least I can say I've found all of the normal penguins. Okay, I've reached a little bit of a sticking point in my quest progress, so I might have to take a break for potentially a while, and let me just lay out the case really quick. So both of the quests that I'm currently on, which are Morning's End Part 1 and Desert Treasure, require you to have magic logs, or access to a source of them. So I do not have 75 woodcutting. I'm currently at level 62 woodcutting. And I would like to get 75 woodcutting to acquire these magic logs. So before going any further, I will admit, there are ways to get magic logs other than woodcutting. Nature Implings, which I can catch with my hunter level, for example, is one way of doing that. But there are a few ways of me feasibly getting enough magic logs to do both quests without training any woodcutting at all. However, I want to use this as kind of a reason to train my woodcutting up to 75, because it's a skill I need to train. And now that fletching is taken care of with my kingdom, I don't have as much motivation to train it. And also over the next week or so, I'm going to have a lot of things that I need to do school-wise, and so it's going to be helpful to have a nice AFK activity I can work on. Okay, I've been at Acadia Trees for a couple of days, and it is finally just about time to move on. Unfortunately, we're not quite at 75 woodcutting yet. I truly wish that were the case. But it is time to try something else, because I just hit 68, so that is Choking Ivy. So I will be doing Ivy probably most of the way from 68 to 75. This is not the most efficient way to train woodcutting, I will admit it. However, the way I'm training woodcutting is I'm like hardcore AFKing, man. I'm either working on homework or work stuff or playing other games while woodcutting. And unfortunately, Acadia trees just chop down too quickly, where I'm wasting a lot of time just like standing there like a derp while the tree is cut down and I haven't clicked on the next one yet. So I think in the context of just hardcore AFKing, not really looking at the screen more than once every 30 seconds at max, Choking Ivy is actually going to be better XP for us than Acadia trees, because we'll just waste less downtime. And I think for the most part that turned out to be true. I've definitely been getting better XP at Ivy than I was at Acadias. However, it just wasn't enough. I reached 73 woodcutting this week and I ran out of time. I'm not going to be able to get 75 because I'll be out of town this weekend and I won't have a lot of time to play or do quests. But the goal for next week is to finish up 75 woodcutting, finish up Desert Treasure, and Morning's End Part 1. And then that's kind of the major quest goals out of the way and completed. The next thing I want to do after that is finally get 90 combat. As you can tell, we're at 89 at the moment, so we are extremely close, and start using Simona, getting some better Slayer tasks, and continuing to slay. But anyway, that is all for me this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.